Okay. Kedarkenu Bakodesh, I'd like to start with a beracha. Baruch Hashem. Hashem should help with great siyata d'shmaya. We have a tremendous share tonight. Hashem should be marachem and give the right words. So we'll be able to be zochet to give it over the right way. Like I've told you guys in the past, Tuesday nights we give the shmooze. Thursday nights we give the share on the parsha. So I'm hoping that tonight's share on the parasha will really keep you at the edge of your seats. Parashat Shemot. Here we go. Kedarkenu Bakodesh. We start with a beracha because we can really use it. And boy, the things that are going on these days, we can really use the beracha. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Shehakol Nihiya Bidvaro. Tonight I'd like to examine the purpose of a leader, the mission of the great Manhig Yisrael, Moshe Rabbenu. Lo kam bi Yisrael od ke Moshe. Moshe Rabbenu. This is the parasha that he begins. This is the parasha to study of how to bring up a Gadol Batorah, how to bring up a future Manhig in Klal Yisrael. But as you're going to watch, it's all about the purpose and it's all about the mission. And like they taught us when we were kids in baseball, don't take your eye off the ball. The Gedolim didn't take their eye off their mission and their purpose in life, not for a split second. They had no time to waste. Their focus, their kochot, was absolutely on the mission, on the purpose of what Borei Olam put him in this world to do. And they had no interest in anything else but that mission and that purpose. So here's this great moment. The first time Borei Olam actually shows himself to Moshe Rabbeinu by the sneh, the burning bush. And it's here that Borei Olam tells Moshe Rabbeinu, I would like you to go back to Mitzrayim. I'd like to take Klal Yisrael out of the Galut. I want you to go to Paro, and I want you to tell him that Klal Yisrael is the Am HaNivchar, and they're going to be taken out to serve Hashem. And Moshe Rabbeinu says, Borei Olam, listen to these words. Moshe Rabbeinu says to Borei Olam, Lo ish dvarim anochi. I'm not a speaker. Gam itmol, gam shilshon, gam me'az. Listen to these words. You want me to speak on behalf of the Jewish people? You want me to negotiate with Paro? You want me to lead them out of Egypt? But Borei Olam, that's not from the skills that you gave me. Says Moshe Rabbeinu, I'm kvad peh ukvad lashon. I have a very heavy tongue, I have a stutter, I have a speech impediment. If that was my purpose, if that was my mission, then the tools you gave me cannot deliver the purpose. I'm not a speaker. And if that's the case, how do you expect me to do this? So there are two things I want to ask you. Kvad peh ukvad lashon. A little bit of a double lashon there, right? Double lashon, right? Kvad peh ukvad lashon. I have a heavy mouth, a speech impediment, a slip of the mouth, a slip of the tongue. Right? It's unbelievable. What exactly is Moshe coming to tell us on this double lashon? What was it that he was adding to the problem that he had to repeat a second description? And then once we're asking, take a look at the pasuk. He says, Borei Olam, Lo ish dvarim anochi, I'm not a speaker. Gam mitmol, gam shilshom, not from yesterday, not from the day before that, gam me'az, and not even from way back when. I was never a speaker. 1 second. What do you mean, not from yesterday, the day before, or even from way back when? This is the first time that you're meeting Borei Olam. This is your first encounter with Hashem. Hashem, come on. You know I'm not a speaker. Not yesterday, not the day before, not even way back when. Way back when? When? Way back when? This is the first time you're meeting him. This is the first time you see him. What is this Gan Me'az? From way back when? When was he referring to? This is your first encounter. Very weird. Rabbi, I want to share with you tonight something that's going to take us back and forth and all around the Torah. It's going to show us how the Torah is a masterpiece of perfection. We know that already. But tonight's share is going to really ring it in. And then after tonight's share, I'm hoping that we're going to look at the parashiyot differently, where, you grow up 18, 30, 40, 50. You're going through the parashiyot, and to you it's okay. All right, I know it. I know the story. I heard the pshatim over the years. I heard enough rabbis did ashot. Tonight is going to demonstrate to us that what we thought we knew is so far away from what's really there. There's so much more there than what we think we know. But we need the ability to study, to learn, the omek, to go a little deeper, to understand that the Torah is not a story. It is a masterpiece of perfection, of Borei Olam's history. Watch what I'm about to give to you tonight. This to me is a very enjoyable topic. We're going to have to go back and start me'az, like Moshe said. Let's go all the way back. I want to go as far back as Parashat Bereshit. The very last pasuk in Parashat Bereshit, Torah tells us, V'noach matza chen be'enei Hashem. Says the Gemara, what is this pasuk coming to allude to? V'noach matza chen be'enei Hashem. Says Chazal, in truth, Noach was part of the gezerah of the Mabul with everybody else. Noach and his family was destined to perish in the great flood with the rest of the generation. But, says the Torah, nonetheless, V'noach matzah chen b'nei Hashem. Noach found a certain grace in Hashem's eyes, that although he was part of the gezerah, but Hashem was merachim due to the grace that he found by Hashem, and he allowed Noach and his family to live anyways. Why? What was special that Noach was able to save himself, his family, from a gezerah that he himself really belonged to? We should turn on the heat. So says the Arizal, something beyond words. Says the Ari, says the Arizal, you need to know that Noach really had two very big sins, two averot. And because of that, really, he was not supposed to make it. What were the two sins of Noach? So Chazal tell us, number one, Noach did not rebuke his generation. For 120 years, he's building a teva. People are coming and asking, what are you doing? And now is the opportunity to give him a shmooze. The whole world was filled with Hamas. The whole world was filled with zinut. The zunut and the arayot was so bad in the Dor HaMabul that even the angels sinned with men. Even the animals sinned together out of their own species. So the ni'uf and the arayot was the terrible, terrible avon of the generation. The chamas, the gneva and gezerah, was the maku patish of the last straw that sealed the gezerah on the generation of the flood. But there was a tzaddik, and that tzaddik's name was Noah. And the tzaddik's job, the rabbi's job, is to be able to deliver the rebuke in a way that the people can hear it, to be able to bring them back, to be able to hocheach, tochiach, to bring them back b'tshuva. 120 years. And for some reason, Noach did not rebuke the people and couldn't bring back not even one person b'tshuva. It's a taina on Noach. And you know what they say? If you didn't rebuke him, if you ain't against us, elamai, you're with us. If you don't rebuke Yenim, in a right way, of course. If you're going to do it the wrong way, better don't do it. But if you can do it in the right way, if you could prevent someone from doing averot in the proper way of doing things, and you don't, you're just as guilty as the person in that very sin. And because of that, the sins of the generation not only brought gezerah on the entire generation, but it brought it on the tzaddik as well, on Noach. And that's what the Gemara we cited. The Gemara says that Noach was part of the Gzerat HaMabul, that he was supposed to die because he was nitpas in the avon of the generation, because he could have stopped them and he didn't. He didn't rebuke his generation. So the avon of Arayot was in his hand. What was the second thing that Noach was guilty of? It says Chazal, he should have prayed for his generation. Hashem told Noach, Chatam Sofer has a whole shmuz on this in Parashat Noach. He says, when Hashem told Noach, I'm going to destroy the world, go out and build a teva, Noach said, okay. No, that's the wrong answer. It wasn't supposed to be okay. It was supposed to be, what? You can't destroy the generation. He should have stood up, defended, davened for the generation. And he didn't daven for his generation. And because of that, so to speak, the way Chazal explain it, is that we have a saying, the captain is supposed to go down with the ship. Noach jumped ship. He let everybody else go down with the ship, and he took off on a rowboat. And there was a big taina on him because of that. So what's the two avon? Number one, he didn't rebuke the generation in the Avera of Arayot. Number two, he did not daven for the generation. Because of this, he was supposed to die in the Mabul with everybody else. What saved him? The last pasuk in Bereshit. Noach matzachen be'enei Hashem. Noach found grace in Hashem's eyes, and Hashem was merachem, and he saved him from the gezerah that he was really supposed to be a part of. Why? What was the grace that he found in Hashem's eyes? Why was he saved? Says the Arizal. The answer is in the next pasuk. And in order to explain to you this answer, says the Arizal, I need to give you a slight introduction, a concept that is beyond words. You know, we say Anna every day, we say Tahanun every day. And there we say at the end of Nefilat Apayim, we say Aval Chatanu, Avin Anachnu, Va'avotenu, Va'anshe Betenu. Aval Chatanu, Anachnu, Avotenu, Va'anshe Betenu. What a chutzpah. What a chutzpah to say something like that. Chatanu, yes. Avotenu? Anshe Betenu? If you come along and you say, listen, Borei Olam, I did Averot, I need to clean myself up, We're in Shovavim now, right? We're in Shovavim now. We should maybe give a shmooze on Shovavim. That might be next week's piece. I don't have to, whatever Borei Olam sends me. But I got to clean myself up. Shovavim. I say, Borei Olam, Chatanu, we sinned. Beseder. That's all part of a tshuva. There's vidui. Azivat hachet, Kabbalah la'atid, Chatanu, Anachnu, Avotenu, Anshe Beitenu. Could you imagine coming and announcing that not only am I a sinner, but my father is a sinner? Kacha medabrim. That's the kibud avaim. That's the morah. That's the kibud. To announce like that, not only am I a sinner, my father's a sinner. Is that the way you talk? Would you believe it? That's something we mention while we're doing tshuva. Buddy, you're making things worse, not better. Says the Arizal, I'd like you to look a little deeper. You need to understand the incredible yesod. In Kabbalah, there's a concept. The first time the neshama comes down to this world, the neshama is referred to in the status of Av neshama. The first time the neshama comes into this world, it's the father neshama. It's the Av neshama. And if that neshama does not end up doing what it should, or ends up making mistakes, Has v'shalom, it might have to come back again later on, begilgul, a second, maybe even a third time. But when that neshama comes back a second time, then already the neshama is in the status of tolda, toladot. You learned a little Bava Kama? Avot, mechlal di'ikat toldot, right? There's an av and there's a tolda. By neshamot as well. The Av Neshama is the first time Neshama comes down. That's the father Neshama. But if that same Neshama has to come back a second time, that already is a Tolda. That's a Gilgul. We know the concept of Gilgul, where sometimes a Neshama has to be recycled, comes back into this world to fix, to repair something that it did in a previous lifetime in order to find perfection before going back upstairs to get a better judgment. So the first time down, Av. The second time the Neshama comes down in a Gilgul, Tolda. Says the Arizal, that's the Pshat. When I come and I say Ashamnu, and I'm coming and I'm admitting to my sins, when I'm saying Aval Chatanu, Anachnu, here in this lifetime I sinned, but not just in this time. Va'avotenu, and in my previous lifetime when my neshama was here, round one, I also sinned then, and I'm still doing teshuvah for all those times. Anachnu va'avotenu v'anshe beitenu. Hashamnu. So I'm not just coming to say vidui. I'm not just coming to correct the neshama and my round in the world of this round. I'm also coming to say vidui and to do teshuvah on avotenu, on the previous rounds that my neshama was here as well, and those things I'm still carrying in this Gilgul to be mitaken, to finally come back to the Borei Olam with a true perfection. Wow, what a pshat! Anachnu v'avotenu v'anshe beitenu. If this is the case, says the Arizal, now you're going to understand an amazing secret. A pasuk that we read 100 times and never saw this. V'Noach matzachen be'enei Hashem. Noach had two sins in his hand. He didn't rebuke the generation, didn't pray for the generation. He was supposed to die in the Mabul. But God had mercy. Why? Because he found grace in God's eyes. Noach matzachen be'enei Hashem. Really? Why? Why? What's chut? Why did he find grace in Hashem's eyes? The answer is the next pasuk. Because ele toledot Noach. These are the future Gilgulim of Noach. Noach. He's going to come back twice. First time, Ish Tzaddik. He's going to come back as the great Ish Tzaddik. Who's called it Tzaddik in the Torah? Yosef HaTzaddik. So he's going to come back the first time in Gilgul as Yosef. And then who's he going to come back as? Tamim haya bedorotav. Who was the Tamim? Who was the perfect Jew? Moshe Rabbeinu. Unbelievable. What an Arizal. Ele toledot Noach. Noach matzachem b'nei Hashem. He was supposed to die, but Hashem had mercy. Why? Because of the next pasuk. Ele toledot Noach. Because of the future people that he's going to come back as to clean up his act. The two sins that he did. That he didn't rebuke his generation. He didn't daven for his generation. Later on, two people are going to come back and clean up these mistakes of today, tomorrow. Ele Toledo Noach. Because of the Toldah, the Gilgulim that are going to come out of Noach. And how many times is he going to come back? 2 times. Noach. He's going to come back twice. Ish Tzaddik, like Yosef at Tzaddik. And who else? Tamim haya bedorotav. And he's going to come back as the perfect Jew. The greatest Jew to ever live. Lo kam bi Yisrael od ke Moshe. This is unbelievable. Imam is unbelievable. And if this is the case, makes a lot of sense. You know, Noach has 3 sons. Torah tells us that the following are the 3 sons of Noach. Torah tells us, Vayoled Noach shlosha banim. Noach had a leda of 3 sons. Noach was made up of 3 sons. Ben. What's 3 times Ben? Well, Ben's 52, right? And the Nacham of 52 is 104. And the Nacham of 52, what do you got? 156, right? 156 is Gematria Yosef. So, the first leda of Noach is going to be Yolid Shlosha Banim. What's going to be the first Leda? What's going to be that first Toledo? Who's going to be the first Gilgul? The Ish Tzaddik. Ben. Yosef. He's coming back as Yosef. Unbelievable. This is an incredible idea. Maybe that's what it means. You know, this week's Parsha, we start the Parasha. Ele Shemot B'nei Yisrael. Mitzrayim, Elohen, Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda. It tells us all the names of Klal Yisrael and the Shivim Nefesh that came down to Mitzrayim with Yaakov. VeYosef haya b'Mitzrayim. Says Rashi. I mean, you need to tell me that Yosef is in Mitzrayim? Where else will the viceroy be? Where else will the leader of Egypt be? Where would it be? Betach Yosef hayam Mitzrayim. Says Rashi, Lohodia. It's coming to tell you tzidkato, the tzidkut of Yosef. What's the tzidkut of Yosef? Because he was the leader. Naseh Melech. He was the leader. Ve'omed b'tzidkato. Even though his society was completely corrupt, he was the only tzaddik in his society. Everyone else went bad, but he stood alone as the sole good tzaddik of his society. Sound familiar? Does it sound familiar? He was the Noach of Egypt. When the whole world went bad, there was one person that stayed good. When the whole Egypt went bad, there was one Yosef that stayed good. Unbelievable. You see clearly when we watch this process, this concept, this Gilgul concept, where someone comes back again, to connect those dots is fascinating. Mamash, you watch the deja vu as it plays its way out, where literally Yosef milamed tzidkato, says Rashi. Right? Tamim haya bedorotav. He was a tzaddik in his generation. Everyone else was bad. He was the only good guy in town. Who was that? Not just Yosef, Noach. Because that was his character. He was able to be placed in the worst of surroundings and remain good nonetheless. That's the DNA of Noach in Yosef. Fantastic. Amazing. You know, Chazal say that one of the averot, one of the things they held against Noach, right when he came out of the Teva, the first thing he planted was a vineyard. From all things to plant, says Chazal, the first thing he went to was right back to the bottle. And he became shikor, right? Because you know the story. He became shikor. And after he became shikor, terrible things followed after that with Cham. The whole Maisa, you know. Do you know that the Torah tells us in 2 weeks ago parasha that right after Yosef was Megaleh himself to his brothers? Says the Pasuk, he sits down with them immediately when the tzara was over. And he told him, Ani Yosef. And he sat down with them. He made a seudah with them. Says the Torah, Vayishtu, Vayishakiru imo. He sat down with them, he drank with them, and he got shikr with them. Unbelievable. Says Rashi, Miyom shemachruhu. From the day that they sold Yosef 22 years ago, Yosef never drank any wine, and his brothers never drank any wine. Because of the pain of the tsar, of the hurt of where they were in the family, and the matzav they were in at the time. This is the first time they came now to drink. What's pshat? Chazal say because Yosef understood that he has to be mitaken, that Noach drank at a time that he shouldn't. And now because of that, he held out for 22 years and didn't drink. But now when the tzara was over, he says, now I was able to fix that mistake. He drank in the wrong time. Now let's drink and be mishaker in the right time. Very interesting. But these are light correlations. Here I'd like to be able to hit with you on maybe a little bit of the heavier correlations. And that is, what did we say? We said really Noach was supposed to die with the generation, but he matzachen b'nei Hashem, but really he was part of the Gzeira because he had two big averot in his hands. He didn't rebuke the generation, he didn't daven for the generation. Wait 1 second. He didn't rebuke the generation that was over in Arayot. And because of that, Arayot was biyado. So who does he have to come back with? Who's he going to come back with now? Ele toledot Noach. He needs to be mitaken Arayot. So he's going to come back as the prince that overcame the biggest test of Arayot in history. Ele toledot Noach. These are the Gilgulim of Noach. Noach. He's coming back twice. He's going to come back as Ish Tzaddik in order to be mitaken the first sin, that he didn't rebuke them for the Avera of Arayot. So now he's guilty of it as well. So he has to come back as Yosef, who's going to be the one to break the Yetzer Hara of Arayot in the world, to be machlish to Arayot in the world by overcoming a superhuman test. And then he's going to have to come back as Moshe Rabbenu in order to fix the second sin, because Noach didn't pray for his generation. So he has to come back as Moshe Rabbenu, who prayed for 40 days and 40 nights in order to be able to save Klal Yisrael from the Avon Ha'egel. Unbelievable. This is unbelievable. This is unbelievable. Ay. So let's get this. Klal Yisrael does an Egel. And right after the Egel, Hashem comes to Moshe Rabbeinu. And Hashem says, Moshe, separate from these people. Ve'achale otam karaga. I'm going to wipe them out. I'm going to destroy Klal Yisrael completely. Moshe Rabbeinu says, no way. What is Borei Olam telling him? Separate from the people. I'm going to destroy them because the Chet HaEgel. What is Borei Olam telling Moshe Rabbeinu? He's basically telling him exactly what he told Noach. He told Noach, I'm bringing a Mabul. build a teva, and separate from the people. And you know what Noach answered? Okay. What do you mean okay? Wrong answer. Survey says, wrong answer. That's not what the answer was supposed to be. You're not supposed to say okay. You're supposed to daven for the generation to find mercy. Salachti kidvarecha. You're supposed to find the rahmanut of Borei Olam on the people. So what happens now? Borei Olam does the exact same thing again with Moshe Rabbeinu. The way he told Noach, separate from the people, I'm going to wipe out the world. Noach said, okay. So now we need to be metaken that. So Hashem comes to Moshe Rabbeinu right after the Egel, and Hashem says, Moshe, ibadilu, separate from the people. Va'achale otam karaga, I'm going to wipe the entire nation out. Moshe Rabbeinu says, and I'll start over with you. Hey, that sounds familiar. I'll start over with you. That's mamash what happened with Noah. He wiped out the world, and he started over with Noah. We all come from Noah. B'nai Noah. The whole world comes from Noah. Hashem says, let's see if we can be mitaken this mistake. Deja vu. Let's go back to that frame. Comes to Moshe Rabbeinu after the Egel. Separate from the people. I'm going to wipe out the entire nation, and I'm going to start over Klal Yisrael with you, Moshe. Hashem wanted to see. Let's see what he's going to answer. Let's see if he's going to fix Noah. Let's see if he's going to bring tikkun to this area. Says Moshe Rabbeinu, no way. Borei Olam says a Gemaram Berachot over there in the middle of the 5th perek. Moshe Rabbeinu, Kivyachol, even talk this way, is as if he grabbed the glima, he grabbed the garment of Borei Olam and said, I'm not letting go until you forgive the people. And if you don't forgive them, Mechenina misifrecha. Wipe me out from your books. Erase my name from your books. Mechenina, backwards, spells Ani Noach. This is my tafkid. This is my tafkid. He, or me, right? He's talking about himself in the prior generation. He says, when I was Noach, I didn't pray for my generation. And I took the deal of starting over again with just Noach. I'm not going to make that same mistake. Mechenina, Ani Noach. I know my tafkid. I'm here to be mitaken Noach. He didn't pray for his generation. So now I have to pray for Klal Yisrael. I will not let you start over with me. I must save the people. Moshe Rabbeinu goes from Rosh Chodesh Elul all the way 40 days later to the day of Yom Kippur, till finally he gets Borei Olam to say, Salachti kidvarecha. And that was the moment he was mitaken, the second avon of Noach. Noach. He's going to come back twice. He's tzaddik, taken the rebuke against Arayot, and Tamim Haya B'dorotav, the perfect Jew that this time will pray for his generation and save them. Unbelievable. This is mamish unbelievable. Or maybe like the Haftarah and the Navi. The Navi refers to the Mabul as Mei Noach. The Navi calls the Mabul Mei Noach. You know, here in the United States, they're very into giving names to hurricanes, right? You know, Hurricane Katrina. You guys remember Sandy, I'm sure, that's for sure, right? Hurricane Sandy, The Navi referred to the Mabul as Hurricane Noah. That's the way he referred to it. Mei Noach. You take a look at the Navi. The Pasuk in Navi writes, Mei Noach. They put the Mabul on Noach's shoulders. Your fault. We named it after you because it was your fault. You could have prevented this Mabul if you would have prayed for the generation, if you would have got them to rebuke, if you would have got them to do teshuvah, stop them from the arayot. And now that you didn't, you're going to have to come back Begilgul to fix these two tremendous averot. Yosef, to fix the arayot, and then secondly, as the Ishta, as the Tamim Haya, as Moshe Rabbeinu, And that's the word mecheni na. The word mecheni, says the Chidah, is the same otiot as me Noach. Me Noach ani. I'm responsible for the me Noach, says Moshe Rabbeinu. And therefore now's my time to fix it. Now, I'm not going to make the same mistake as round one. This time I'm going to daven for the generation. This time I'm going to save them. This time I'm going to bring tikkun to Noah. Unbelievable. If this is the case, Rabotai, I think there's something in this week's parasha that's an eye-opener that many people miss. It slips right under the radar. The only other place in the entire Torah that the word teva is used, it's only used twice. The first time is by Noach, the teva, the ark, and the second time is in this week's parasha. You see, because Amram, Yocheved, they have a baby boy. They see that he is Tov. It says Rashi, they called him Tuvia. That was one of his many, Moshe Rabbeinu, almost 10 names. You have to see, the Rashi gives the whole list of names. Tuvia, Vigdor, a whole list of names. They saw that this baby was Tov, he was special. He was special, this baby. So Chazal tell us that they decided that they're going to put him in a teva. This is the only other time that the word teva is used in the Torah. The first time by Noach, the second time by Moshe Rabbeinu. Coincidence? If you think about it for a minute, it's weird. The Egyptians are looking for all the baby boys. They're banging on doors to kill the baby boys, to take them, like the Gzerah Paro, and throw them into the water, throw them into the Nile to drown them. Why? Because the Moshein Elokim, the Mashiach of Klal Yisrael, is supposed to be born, and his downfall is with water. So we're going to throw them, we're going to wipe them out, throw them into the waters. So I want to ask you something, Chevra. You have a baby boy. You want to hide the baby. You want to save the baby. The authorities, the KGB, they're banging down doors, pricking Egyptian babies so that if this baby cries, it'll get the other babies to cry. So if you have him hiding, the baby will cry. They had all these tricks. I want to ask you, would you ever come up with a plan to take your little baby and put him in a basket that is with Atzeh Gofer, tar, on the outside, and put him in the Hudson River? Would you ever dream of a plan like that? That's the way you save babies in emergency situations. Somebody hears that you did a thing like that, they're going to call down social services in 5 minutes. They'll take all your kids. Are you joking? Are you out of your mind? You put your infant baby in the river? Who does that? Where did they even get this far-fetched havamina of a plan? I mean, really? Really? What were they thinking? What were they thinking? Amazing. So I want to highlight to you an incredible pasuk. We go back to Parashat Noach again. And the pasuk says, Vayomer Hashem leNoach. This is pasuk Aleph, Perek Zayin, and Bereshit. Perek Zayin, pasuk Aleph. Sheni. Vayomer Hashem leNoach. God says to Noach, Bo ata v'cho betecha el hateva. Come into the teva, you and your entire family. Ki otecha ra'iti tzadik lefanai bador hazeh. Because you, I see as the tzaddik in front of me, bador hazeh, in this generation. How many generations were there between Noach and Moshe Rabbeinu? Well, let's think. There was 10 generations between Noach and Abraham. And then there was 7 generations between Abraham and Moshe. So there were 17 generations between Noach and Moshe Rabbeinu. Says Borei Olam to Noach, Vayomer Hashem l'Noach, Bo ata v'cho betcha l'teva. You know why I'm bringing you into the teva? You know why I'm saving you? Ki otecha ra'iti tzadik. I see you as a tzaddik one day. Lefanai bador. In which generation? Hazeh. Hazeh is Gematria 17. I see that you're going to come back as a tzaddik in 17 generations from now. And in zechut of that generation and that tzaddik that's going to fix you, I'm able to save you today in the teva that I'm bringing you into. In English we call this paying forward. Paying forward. You're going to get something today that you're going to pay later on for forward in the future. Says Borei Olam, Ki otcha ra'iti tzaddik. I see a tzaddik's going to come out of you. Bador, in which generation? Hazeh, in the 17th generation. 17 generations later, who does Noach come back as? Moshe Rabbenu. And because of that, when Moshe was born, Vayar Kitov, says the pasuk, Vayar, when he was born, Vayar Kitov. So simple pshat is, they saw that he was good. Rashi says that there was a light on him. He lit up the whole house. Says the Arizal, no. Vayar, his mother and father saw Piruach HaKodesh, Kitov. This was the baby of Tov, the 17th generation, that was already told back to Noach years ago, that in 17 generations from now, Bador Hazeh, there's going to be a tzaddik lefanai that's going to come along and he's going to clean you up so that I can save you today. Vayar Kitov, they realized this was the baby. This was the baby of the 17th generation. This was the one that's going to save Noach. And if that's the case, what do you do with the Gilgul of Noach? Deja vu. If Noach was saved in a teva, then the Gilgul of Noach will be saved in a teva. So they didn't come up with this new idea of how to save an infant baby by putting him in a basket in the Hudson River. They said, this is the Gilgul of Noach, and Noach's Hatzalah is in a teva. So if that's the case, this little baby, the Tov baby, the 17th generation, the one we've been waiting for, the one that's going to be Mitaken Noach, the way to save him is the same way Noach was saved. You got to put him in a teva. And because of that, they put baby Moshe into a teva. Amazing. Vatere oto kitovhu. They see that this is the 17th generation baby. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And I'll tell you the truth, Rabotai, there was something that always hit me in a big way. Moshe Rabbeinu's name. You know, Batya, she's in the river, and she sees this little basket. And we know she stretches her hand miraculously, grabs the basket, grabs the baby, and pulls the baby in. And lo and behold, it's a Jewish baby. And she takes the baby as hers, and she names him Moshe. It's amazing. You know, Torah tells you that when Moshe was born, he had parents. And they named him. And Rashi tells you 10 names. Vatere oto kitovu, Tovia. I told you, Avigdor, Avisoter, many different names were given to him. Rashi tells you all of them. And yet, none of those names stuck. He's not called Tuvia Rabbenu. He's not called Avigdor Rabbenu. He's called Moshe Rabbenu. Why? Because Batya, Bat Paro, finds him afterwards, and she says, Moshe, Kiminamai Mishitiu. From all the names to stick, his parents give him 10 names, nada. A stranger gives him a name from an occurrence, that becomes his name, his legacy for generations and for life. What shot? as the Egyptian name. What's pshat? Why should that name be his name to stick? The answer is that the name of a person is his essence. The name of a person is his mission. You see a person's name, it tells you all about the person from beginning to end. Tzaddikim are able to look at the name of a person, they're able to tell you everything about the person, about what his job is, what his tafkid is, what he did in life, if he's living, if he's not living. It's amazing. They just look at a name. Shemo Ken Hu. It's a Gemara in Berachot. From a name, you know exactly what a person's essence is. It tells you all about a person, about his mission, about his job, about his makeup, about his essence. It says Batya. She looks at the baby and she says, oh, Ki min hamayim mishitihu. This was the one that was saved from the waters. This baby is the Gilgul of Noah. And therefore she named him Moshe, to remind him your tafkid in this world is to be able to be mitaken, the one that ki min hamayim mishitu. To be able to be mitaken, the one that was saved from the waters. You're the Gilgul of Noah. So later on, when the time comes, and Klal Yisrael does the Egel, and there's going to be that moment where you're going to have the chance to be mitaken Noach for what he didn't do. He was the captain that didn't go down with the ship. You're going to remember your job. It's your name, it's your essence, it's your calling in life. You're Moshe. You're here to fix the one that ki min hamayim mishitiu. You're here to fix the one that was pulled out and saved from the waters, the one that was saved from the Mabul. You're a Gilgul of Noach. You're here to be mitaken him. And that's why that name stuck over all the other names. Because that name really says the great callings of later on Moshe Rabbenu to be mitaken Noach in an incredible way. Amazing. If this is the case, Rabotai, I think it makes sense now. Moshe Rabbeinu, he's standing in front of Borei Olam for the first time by the sneh. And Hashem tells him, Shal na'alecha me'al raglecha, take your shoes off. Amazing. I would assume that if this is the first time he's talking to Borei Olam, there has to be some sort of a hint to what his mission is in life. The first time he's speaking to Borei Olam. Moshe Rabbeinu is told, I want you to go and speak on behalf of Klal Yisrael. Go defend the people. Oh, in your last lifetime you didn't defend the people. In the last lifetime you didn't pray for the people. You jumped ship. Moshe Rabbeinu runs away from Egypt. He jumped ship. Borei Olam says, no. Remember your mission. Don't run away from the generation. Go back to the generation. Go back to Mitzrayim. Go in front of Paro. Fight for the people. Defend the people. Says Moshe Rabbeinu, but I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. Because you know what happened? Lo ish dvarim anochi. I don't have speech. I can't speak. Gam mitmol, gam shilshon, gam me'az. In my first time that I was here, I messed up with my speech. I was supposed to rebuke, and I didn't rebuke. I was supposed to daven, and I didn't daven. And because I messed up with my speech in the first time, I'm not worthy to be able to go now and use my speech to save Klal Yisrael. Says Borei Olam, what? Mi sam peh le'adam. Says Borei Olam. Mi sam peh le'adam. Who gave man his ability to speak? Who gave you that speech impediment is really what Hashem is saying in a certain way. Who gave man a mouth to speak? Anochi eheye impicha. I gave you your speech impediment to remind you that your job is to fix your speech. You were Noah who fell in the avon that you didn't use your mouth properly. You were supposed to rebuke the people. You were supposed to daven for the people. You were supposed to defend the people, and you didn't. Hence, I made you dafka this way. Aral sfatayim. That your mouth should have an impediment to remind you your whole lifetime the area that you need to be working on. This is your mission to fix. You're here to fix Noah. He messed up with his mouth. You're here to capitalize and to be able to save with your mouth. That is why your speech is impeded. To remind you where your work is supposed to be. Don't worry. Anochi eheye impicha. I will be with you. I will be with your mouth. I will help you fulfill your mission in this world. I'm here to help you fill your tafkid in this world. Your tafkid is mechenina. Your tafkid is to daven for Klal Yisrael. Your tafkid is to defend Klal Yisrael. Your tafkid is to rebuke Klal Yisrael. What does Moshe Rabbenu do in the whole book of Devarim? The whole book of Devarim, he literally summarizes history and goes and rebukes al kol kutzo shel yud. The way a Rebbe rebukes, with love. But he gives them rebuke. And that's after he saved them by davening and saving the generation. Look what he's doing. Do you know that Chazal say that right after Moshe Rabbeinu davened for Klal Yisrael and came down with the second pair of luchot, Moshe no longer stuttered. He no longer had the kvad peh kvad lashon. No longer. Because the whole point of the impediment was to remind him that you were chaser in your mouth. That you're coming to fix Noah, who messed up with his lashon, with his peh. And because of that, you are back here to fix him a second time. You're back here to fix the rebuke that he didn't give, Sefer Devarim. You're back here to daven for a nation that he didn't daven, Maaseh HaEgel. You saved Klal Yisrael. Salachti kidvarecha. Now that you did the tafkid and the purpose, that you fixed the mouth that you were here to fix, there's no reason for the impediment anymore. Right after he brought down the second luchot, Chazal tell us, no longer did Moshe Rabbeinu anymore have an impediment. Unbelievable. Mamash, he fulfilled a mission. Incredible. But now we understand the conversation. Kvad peh kvad lashon. I'm not ra'ui. I messed up with my mouth the last time. I'm scared I'm going to mess up again this time. I'm going to go in front of Paro and I'm going to defend the people. I might mess up again like I did the first round. Hashem says, no, lehefech. You're here to be mitaken just that. That's your purpose. Misam peh la'adam, says Hashem. I gave a mouth to a man. Now go out and fix it. Go out and fix it. V'anochi eyeh imach impicha. I'll be with you. I will help you fulfill your tafkid. Unbelievable. This is just unbelievable. Unbelievable. I'll help you fulfill your mission. Mamish Moshe Rabbeinu, Noach, from the first encounter with Borei Olam, he's already telling him his mission. How his parents already prophesied. Oh, Vatere oto kitov. This is the one we were waiting for in the 17th generation, that we were already told that Hashem said to Noach, I'm saving you now because of the tzaddik. Ra'iti lefanai bador hazeh. In the 17th generation, here he is. That's why they called him Tov. He's the number 17. He's the one we were waiting for in the 17th generation. But that's why the name Moshe stuck. Because his tafkid was to be able to be metaken, ki min hamayim mishitiu. He's here to save and be metaken, the one that was pulled out from the waters, Noah. Mechenina. Ani Noah. May Noah. But what do you mean? I'll start over with you, the whole world, the way I started over with Noah. Oh no, I'm not making that mistake again. I'm not making that mistake again. Oh no. He davens 40 days, 40 nights. The same time it rained by the Mabul. He davened 40 days, 40 nights. Geshem has a lot to do with tefillah. I just don't have the time now to go into that. But he davened 40 days, the way it rained, 40 days, 40 nights. And sure enough, salachti kidvarecha. No more speech impediment. You were mitaken the peh that you were put here in this world to be mitaken. Unreal. And that's why Be'emet in Parashat Kitisa, all Chazal, everyone asks, on the Pasuk, Moshe Rabbenu says, Borei Olam, show me your face. I want to know your ways better. Borei Olam says, not in this world. Then finally Moshe Rabbenu, Parashat Kitisa, he says, Ve'ata amarta, yida'aticha b'shem, ve'gam matzati chen be'enecha. You yourself said, says Moshe Rabbeinu to Hashem, Ata amarta, yadaticha b'shem, v'gam matzati chen be'enecha. And you also said that I found chen in your eyes. You show me one place in the Torah that says that Moshe Rabbeinu found chen in Hashem's eyes. Where? You show me one place. And Moshe says to Hashem, Ata amarta, you said to me that I found chen in your eyes. Where? Where in the Torah does it say such a thing? No, not in this round. In the last round. V'noach matzachen be'enei Hashem. So Moshe Rabbeinu says, V'ata amarta yadadicha b'shem v'gam matzati chen be'enecha. That's it. Yosef was also, yeah. But Noach, it says black and white. V'noach matzachen be'enei Hashem. You yourself said that because I found chen in your eyes, you saved me round one, so that I could be mitaken the mistakes in round two. I was mitaken, so now be megalet to me the gilui. Give me the nun, the shar nun. That's really what he was asking for. Hashem says, not in this world. In this world, you can only see me achorai. Panai, you can't lo yera. My face you can't see in this world. Only my back you can see in this world. You're right, you did your job. You did your job. But I can't give you more than what I gave you. Unreal. This is unbelievable. Mamish unbelievable. And if this is the case, Rabotai, here's the cherry on top. Now you understand, there's nothing in the Torah that's there random. Every detail and every prat uklal that Hashem gives us in the Torah Kedosha was there for incredible meaning and purpose. When it came time to build the teva, by Moshe Rabbeinu, it doesn't tell you dimensions of his little teva. But the big teva of Noach, Hashem tells Noach, I want a specific dimension of this teva to be. I want it to be 300 long, by 50 wide, by 30 high. Dafka. 300 amot, by 50 amot, by 30 amot. Dafka. That's exact measurements that this ark must be. Why is the Torah so detailed to tell me? What do we care exactly what we're going to build the teva? There's never going to be a marble again. What do we need these dimensions for? 300 by 50 by 30. Says the Arizal, Hashem was telling Noach something. Build the teva. 300 by 50 by 30. 300 is the gematria of the letter Shin. 50 is gematria of the letter Nun. 30 is gematria of the letter Lamed, Lashon. But Lashon has a vav in it. But the vav is chaser. To tell him, Noach, you know why you're building a teva? Because your Lashon was chaser. Therefore, later on, Moshe Rabbeinu doesn't just say kvad peh. Kvad Lashon! I realize now that my kvad peh of today was because of the Kvad Lashon of yesterday. Why did I get that? It wasn't enough to say Kvad Peh, says Moshe Rabbeinu. Not enough. I have to say Kvad Peh, Ukvad Lashon, because I'm explaining the why. Why today do I have a speech impediment? Why today do I have to use my mouth to defend Klal Yisrael, to rebuke Klal Yisrael, to daven for Klal Yisrael? Because Kvad Lashon, because Mecheni Na, Ani Noach. And I didn't get the message when you gave me the dimensions of the Teva, which spelled out Lamid, Shin, Vav, Lashon. And I didn't realize you were telling me your Lashon is Chaser. Chaser. You got to be metakin your Lashon. So Hashem gives Moshe Rabbeinu an impediment of speech. Aral Svatayim, his Lashon was burnt. You remember the story, Chazal tell, he put the fire by mistake and he was grabbing the gold instead. The Malach took his hand and he burnt his tongue, and because of that, the Lashon is Chaser. Nothing happens for nothing. It was there in order to tell him, this is your purpose. You're here to fix a Lashon that's Chaser. You didn't get it in the first round. I gave you the dimensions that spelled out the word Lashon, and you still didn't get it, Noah. So now I have to wait for the door. Shera'iti bador sadik ra'iti bador hazeh. You know why I'm sending you into the Teva? Really, you could have been mitaken, you could have fixed all, but you didn't get the message of Lashon. So now I got to send you into the Teva. But don't worry. Hine yes sadik ra'iti bador hazeh. In 17 generations from now, there's going to be a tzaddik, and he's going to fix your Lashon. He's going to stand in front of me and realize Kvad Peh, Machmat, the Kvad Lashon. So the whole lifetime of Moshe Rabbeinu is working on the speech impediment, working on the Chaser Lashon, because that was put on him to remind his tafkid. His name was given to him. Remind his tafkid. Save and be metaken, the one that was pulled out from the waters. Min hamayim mishitu. Your name is Moshe. That's your tafkid. And sure enough, when he was given the same deal as Noah, I'll start over with you. Let me just wipe him out. I'll start over with you. So, no. I'm not going to fall for that a second time. I'm going to rebuke them, the book of Dvarim. I'm going to daven from them, the Maaseh of Egel. And I'm going to make sure to be mitaken, the Kvad Peh, the Kvad Lashon. And like this, I'll bring a true tikkun, where this time Moshe Rabbeinu taught us that a person's whole life evolves around his tafkid. What's your tafkid? I once asked my Rebbe, Reb Shlomo Fisher, Shalita Dayan Fisher from Eretz Yisrael, one of the Rashivas of Yeshivat Itri, where I learned. I was very lucky. I got to learn with him B'chavruta for many years. And then when I got married and I went back to Israel for many years in Kolel, say he lives Adayom on Rehov Kablan in Harnof. He lives in Rehov Kablan 11. So I took an apartment in Rehov Kablan 9, so that I would be able to roll my windows down and try to be able to what do you mean? Rabbi Akiva, Masechet Barachot. Torahi, v'lilmod ani tzarich. Okay, I was a shtickle peeping Tom, Mechila, but I was my Rebbe. I wanted to see the way he eats breakfast. Shlomo Fisher, all week, slept in the dormitory in Itri. He's been doing this since his 18th birthday when he got married. Yerushalmis, they got married very early. He got married at 18. They learned the Rambam, Shmonasar Chuppah. They no shtick. He got married at 18, Reb Shlomo Fisher. He came to Itri. After that, and he was in the dormitory. He sleeps in the yeshiva all week. He goes home for Shabbos. Went home for Shabbos. So when I was a bachur, so I was in the dorm, I made sure to be the guy to bring him breakfast every morning. And like this, I can get to talk to him and learning for 3 minutes that he gives me before he closes the door. So I knocked on his dorm door. Can you imagine walking up to your yeshiva in the dorm, knocking on his door? Rebbe, I have your breakfast. I hear feet fluttering. He used to walk very quick. was a genius. He knows Torah Nigla, Torah Nistar on his fingertips, Baal Peh. He doesn't sit when he learns. He learns only standing. He has a stender in his room. The whole room is maleh. The wallpaper are all bookshelves of Sfarim from top to bottom. And he stands there, hovering over a sefer, day and night. In the afternoons, he goes to the Eidei Charedis, to the Bezdin, and then he comes back to the yeshiva at night, and that's the whole week. Shabbat, he goes home to his wife and kids. He's been doing this for over 60 years. This system. So I used to bring his breakfast in the morning. I used to chop a few minutes of talking. And little by little, I chiseled my way in. Till finally I gathered the guts. And I asked him in Yiddish, because my Hebrew then wasn't that good, believe it or not. My Yiddish was better than I came from Tiferes HaMelech. My Yiddish was better than my Hebrew. And I asked him if I could learn with him. If I can learn with him a Seder. And he says to me, no. He tells me, I owe you Hakaras Hatov, because you bring me the breakfast. I was banking on that. That's what he told me. I owe you. I owe you Hakaras Hatov. I owe you for the breakfast. So I said, does that mean we can learn? He said, yeah. One night a week. We started one night a week. I said, what are we going to learn? So he says, what do you want to learn? I said, I want to learn something yeshivish. Now at that time, he was in the Bezdin. So he wanted to learn halacha d'kinyan. I didn't know this. So he says to me, really? What Masechta do you want to learn? He asked me, what do you call yeshivish? Which Masechta do you call yeshivish? He didn't like what I said. I realized that afterwards. I was a dumb guy. What did I know? I was 19. What did I know? I'm standing in front of Gadol Ador. I'm talking to him Heke. I don't know what I'm saying. I said, I want to learn something yeshivish. He says, what do you call learning something? What part of Torah is yeshivish? He asks me. He looked at me like, you're Martian from Mars. What are you talking about? I said, what are the yeshiva Masechtas? He says, okay, pick a Masechta. I said, Bava Metzia. He says, okay, tomorrow night we'll learn Bava Metzia. I come the next night. He has a Bava Metzia already on his stender. I walk in. He opens up the Ezu Neshech. That's not yeshivish. He starts learning all the laws of ribit, of interest, of ribbis, for the Bezdin. But you saw how he got me? I said, what do you want to learn? Bava Metzia? No problem. We learned Ezu Neshech. After 3 nights, I threw in the towel. I was 19, Ezu Neshech. I said, you know how hard those sugyot are on Ezu Neshech? You have to sit there with a calculator of fractions. And he was lightning fast. I couldn't keep up. Till finally I said, Zaymer Shuldik, I'm sorry. I can't keep up. He starts laughing. He says, but you said you wanted to learn something yeshivish. You wouldn't let go. He wanted to teach me a lesson. Till finally, I got him to learn instead his sefer. He wrote a sefer called the Beis Yishai, which is all the sugyot on Shas. He didn't write on 3 or 4 Masechtot. He wrote on the entire Shas. You understand what we're talking about over here? We used to, I had that zechut to be able to sit literally and learn by him, to be mishamesh talmidei chachamim, to be able to get in with such gidolim. I'm not sure why I told you this story. It had to do with what we were just talking about a minute ago, Moshe Rabbenu. But this was the tafkid. Maybe that's what it was. This is the tafkid, that we keep our eye on the tafkid of what we're here for. What is your tafkid? We have to look inside ourselves and ask ourselves, what was I put here for? Oh, that's why. Now I remember why I'm telling you this. Because one night, this is it. One night, I'm sitting with my Rebbe, Rosh Shlomo Fisher, and I asked him, Rebbe, how does a person know what purpose he was put here in this world to do? How does he know? He looked at me and he smiled and he said, Midafregen the neshama. You have to ask your neshama. I said, what does that mean? I said, who speaks with their neshama? I was a foolish American kid. Today I would understand a little bit better what he was trying to say, but then I was a 19-year-old kid. I said, what does that mean? He says, ask your neshama, what is the great weakness and difficulty it has conquering in this world. And those areas you were put here to fix. But you have to be honest with yourself. What is your kvad peh ukvad lashon? Everybody has a kvad peh and a kvad lashon. And it's very humbling to sit in a quiet room and find the answer to that question. But know that once you do find that answer, you have a life's journey, a purpose, and a mission ahead of you. And then I asked him, I said, Rebbe, how do you know, even in learning, what type of learning should I be mashkiah to? Maybe I'm supposed to put more time into be'iyun. Maybe I'm supposed to put more time into bikiyut. Maybe I'm supposed to be covering Shas. Maybe I'm supposed to be memorizing all the Ksais. Maybe I'm supposed to be learning all the Reb Chaims. What am I supposed to be doing? How do I know what learning style and maybe pace is matim to me as a person? He smiles and he tells me, "V'dafreg in the neshama." I said, "Oh my gosh, I'll be sitting with this neshama day and night." He said, "I'm not joking." He says, "It's time to get in touch with your own self." He was very serious about this. He says, how could a person navigate themselves through life without understanding the depths of their own makeup? He looked at me like I was crazy. I guess in English we call this soul searching. To understand yourself better. Understand the way you tick. What's your strengths? What's your weaknesses? He told me, sit down to a piece of Gemara. And after you learn it be'ayun for 5-6 hours, if you're flying and your heart feels like you can't get enough of this, then you know that that's your thing. But if the bikiyut is what turns you on and you want to learn Shas, and you don't feel you're accomplishing enough learning just 4, 5, 6, 7 blot a zman or a year, then put the pedal to the metal. Stop wasting time. Because your neshama is screaming, cover Shas. Learn more. Do more. Some people are incredible darshanim. Their neshama has a tremendous kibul for drush. Some people has a tremendous love for Tanakh. My father-in-law, Hashem should bless him, on Me'av Esrim, he loves history. You can talk to you all of a sudden. You open up a conversation about history, Tanakh, any history, world history, Tanakh, Shoftim, Mlachim, all the Nevi'im. He has dates and he throw you just open the subject. He's your best friend. You see that his neshama comes out because that's where his fire burns. That's his thing. What's your thing? Because when you find yourself, you found your purpose, and then suddenly, Ele Toledot, Noach, I begin to understand, maybe, why was I here again another round? Those areas that you found the most difficult to overcome, my Rebbe told me, was probably the purpose and the areas that you were put here to be mitaken. Keep your eye on the ball. What is your kvad peh and kvad lashon? Thank you, gentlemen, for listening.